Here we are, Gwinnett Woodworkers. We're back at Rob's shop again. Most of our videos are filmed in front of a live audience on Saturday mornings, and oftentimes the audience noise and camera is not really conducive to YouTube videos, so we're doing some short videos here in Rob's shop. Today I'm going to show you how I mount small things on the lathe. I've got several different jigs here that I make, and I'll give you an idea of some different things that I use them for mounting small pieces on the lathe. First one I have over here is for a candlestick. I've got have a Forstner, or not a Forstner bit, but a spade bit that I use to bore out the candlestick hole, so that's always the same size. So I've got the block of wood in here. I bore it out and I can start doing some shaping, but then when it comes time to finish off the base, I have to have some way to hold it on the lathe, this way to finish the base. Well, oftentimes you'll see in books and videos, you'll see where they have a chuck here and they'll put a piece of scrap wood in there and they'll make a jam chuck. Well, the problem with that is if you just want to make one thing, that's fine, but if you're going to be making several of them and you don't want to tie up your chuck with that block of wood in the jam chuck all the time, it's hard to put it back in and to get it to run true. So what I like to do is make up a jig that's threaded on the back side that I can screw directly onto my spindle, and every time I put it on, it'll run true. So I can screw this on here, I can put my candlestick holder on there and come up with a tailstock, and I can finish off the bottom and finish any turning I need to do. So that's one application for a candlestick. Another one is a little tea light cup. At the glass cup here, so I've got the block of wood on there, and I'm shaping the part of the tea light holder that's going to hold my glass cup. Well, then again, when it comes time to turn that around, I want to have some way to hold it so I can reverse chuck my block of wood. So I made this the same outer dimensions as what the glass is, and I can put that on there and reverse my block of wood for the tea light. Another application I find for it is these little miniature birdhouse ornaments. These are made, Dick Singh's book, on miniature birdhouse. I'm using his technique, where the body is bored with a 3/4 inch hole, and then there's a 5/8 inch hole farther down in there. So you got your block of wood on here, and you bore it out, and you start shaping the bottom side, but then you need to turn it around to be able to do the top side. Well, Dick Singh puts a block of wood in his chuck, and but I've never been very successful on being able to reverse it. So I've got this little jam chuck, and it fits on there like that, and then I can return and finish the bottom of the body of the birdhouse. And then the same thing for the lid, for the top. There's a tenon on here that fits into that 3/4 inch hole. Well, I've taken, in this case, I used PVC, and using a scraper, I've made the 3/4 inch so I can put my lid on there and finish turning the roof of the birdhouse. And then another application is for making necklace pendants like this. I often see people make necklace pendants where they just do the front side and then they part it off and just sand the back side flat. Well, I like to finish both sides, and that way the person who's wearing the necklace, typically a lady I presume, will have a choice of which side they want to display. So I make jigs to hold my block of wood. We've got two different ones here. This one is flush, is where I want to fasten a piece of my rough stalk onto it to turn the front side of the pendant. And then I'm going to turn it with a curvature. And so my other block of wood has got that same curvature, then I can reverse it and stick it on and then be able to do the back side of the pendant. So now we'll go into how I go about making these jigs. So I start off with what I want to end up with is something like this, where I've got it's a threaded hole, a block of wood, and then my waste block is glued into here. So when this gets worn down, I can just bore it out and put another piece in there, and not have to do anything to the part that's threaded. So I start off with a piece of wood. You know, it's roughly what the dimensions is on this. It's about 2 3/4 inches square, and this is a piece of 2x4. I've also used Baltic birch plywood for the threaded part, and if I have Baltic birch plywood, that's preferably what I'll use. But I didn't have any today for the demonstration. But I have been used just regular 2x4 material and cut decent threads in there. So we're going to start off now. If you don't have a chuck, you can do this on the lathe, on a drill press. And as I'm going through, I'll show you, the differences between doing it on the lathe and doing it on the drill press. But I'm going to do it with the chuck. I'm going to start out with, I've got the number 3 jaws on this chuck, and I'm just going to hold that block. Since this is a square piece of wood, it's going to hold it in there nicely. And I'm going to put a backer board, because I'm going to be drilling in there, and I don't want to run my Forstner bit into the bottom of the steel. So I've just got a thin piece of plywood I'm going to put in the bottom there just to run the drill bit into. Oh, and one other thing, let me show you one other thing before I get ahead of myself here. When we're drilling the hole out, the threads on this spindle only go down that far. So the outer side diameter of this is 1 inch, and then back here where that's unthreaded is 1 inch. So I need to bore a counter relief to fit over that part of the spindle that's not threaded. And then I also want, this one's got a fairly small shoulder on it. Some lathes has a bigger shoulder, but I want a flat spot that's perpendicular to the hole. That's because that's where I get my strength at when it's resting up against that shoulder. So those are 2 things I'm going to be drilling, but those are what we're going to be working on is a relief for the shoulder here, and a flat spot to rest on this back here, because it should be sitting up there like that. Okay, so we're going to be using a spindle tap. The spindle tap that I'm using is Beal Tool Company, and they come in the 1 inch by 8 threads per inch for small mini lathes, and they also have the 1 1/4 by 8 threads per inch for the larger Powermatic and larger jet lathes. So I'm going to be using this spindle tap. So first thing I need to do is bore a hole in there, and the directions that come on here that says you drill the hole 1/8 inch smaller than the size of the tap. So this is a 1 inch tap, so I'm going to bore a 7/8 inch hole in the through the wood. But before I do that, I need to do a little bit of preparation. First, the shoulder back here that I go against, I want to have a nice flat surface here, because when I bore my hole, I want a surface that's completely perpendicular to that hole that I'm going to be drilling. So if you're doing this on a drill press, you'd clamp the block of wood down, and you could use the same facing that I'm going to be doing here with the Forstner bit. Now, since it's on the lathe, I could use my bowl gouge or something and flatten that out myself, flatten it out with the bowl gouge, but I'm going to show you how I would do it if I was doing it on a drill press. So I've got one, this is a much larger bit than what I need for this lathe, but the Delta MIDI lathe and also my Jet 1642 has a larger shoulder, so I want to create a flat area on there that's going to rest on that shoulder on the spindle. Okay, a little bit about safety before I get started. Minimally safety glasses. When I'm working at home, I typically always wear this, the Trend Air Shield Pro. Provides both face protection and dust protection. But here today with the microphone, it wouldn't work very well with the microphone. Another kind of face shield that I use, and I think even this, I think it would kind of a muffled sound if I use this today. So we'll just try it with safety glasses today. Since these are fairly small pieces, we'll just use the safety glasses today. Okay, I've got the, we'll see if the lathe has enough torque on, I'll set it on the high speed range, which should go down to 220, which is slow enough for the Forstner bit, but the motor might not have enough torque. We're not going to be boring very deep with that, we're just going to be surfacing it, so it should be okay. So turn the speed down. And all I need to do is just bore in far enough to where I get a good flat surface. Yeah, it's not good, doesn't have enough torque, so I need to go down to the next speed down. We'll go on down to the lowest speed range, which will give us enough torque to turn the motor. And there we can turn it up. I'll turn it back up to about 200. This lathe has a soft start, and it takes a while to get to the speed that you want. So there's about 250. And I'm just watching the cutting edge on the Forstner bit. And once that gets to where it's cutting all the way down across that edge, I don't need to go any deeper than that. I got a good flat surface there. And again, that's what you can, if you're doing this on a drill press, that's how you can guarantee that you're going to have your surface here is going to be exactly perpendicular to the hole that we're going to bore. So then the next hole, we need to come down, we need to bore a 1-inch hole for the relief on that shoulder on the spindle. So I'm going to bore a 1-inch hole, and I'm going to go in just about 1/8 of an inch just to clear that, that part of the spindle that's not threaded. Yeah, that's good enough. Just about 1/8 of an inch. So that's the 1-inch bit to clear the shoulder on the spindle. And then now I need to go with a 7/8 bit to go all the way through the block of wood. And you want to, yeah, I've already got a mark on here. That's about 1.5 inches. So that's when I get down to there, I know I went through the block of wood. I don't want to go all the way through the plywood and again run into run it in the bottom of the thing. So I'm going to go into just about that far just to clear, so I know I'm bored all the way through the wood, or through my block. We can turn the speed up a little bit more on the smaller bit, about 300. As long as the chips keep coming out like that, it's okay. Sometimes you need to back with a Forstner bit. It'll get jammed up in there and you have to back it out and reach the end of the throw on there. I need to run it a little bit farther. Okay, there I could feel it. I heard it go through the wood and into the plywood, so that's all the way through the bottom of the block. Okay, now since this is pine, with the Baltic birch, I could probably go ahead and thread that the way it is. But since this is the pine, what I'm going to do to strengthen the wood fibers up a bit, I'm going to, let's mark it. One thing you can help you to put it back in the center is always between jaws 1 and 4, I put a mark on the wood. So when I put it back in there, I'm going to put it back in so that mark is in between jaws 1 and 4. So we're going to take this out. And now with just some thin CA, I'm just going to coat the inside of that wood with thin CA to strengthen those fibers up. I'll just put some in there and just sort of rotate it around and get it nice and saturated with the thin CA in there. And we'll let that set. And typically I'll let it set overnight because you don't want to be running your tap in there and have the CA still moist and decide that it wants to glue itself to your tap. So we'll just set that aside. And I've got another one here that's already been, that I've already drilled, and it's got the CA in it. And I lied to you about putting the mark on this one. I didn't have a mark on that one, so we'll just put that one in there, and we'll use to help aid in getting it lined. We will use a cone on the live center. I'm just going to knock that point out. And we'll use this point on this, the one-way live center, with the cone on it. And that's just to aid in getting that, to make sure that our hole is centered. So just put a little pressure on there, and that should center it right in the chuck. And, okay, we'll take this one back off again. I'm going to use, I've got this is the pen that one-way sells for their live center to use on a pen mandrel. It's a 60-degree cone. Now I'm just going to use that cone to help hold my tap in alignment. So we don't want the lathe to be coming on while we're doing this, so we'll unplug the lathe. And there's a little bit of motor restriction there, so I want that to be free when I'm turning it, so I don't have to be fighting the motor. So let's go back up to the higher speed range, which will have less drag on the motor will have less drag on us then. Yeah, so that's much easier to turn there like that. Okay, so I'm just going to use the point on here just to help support the end of the tap. And again, you could do this on the drill press. And the way I do it on the drill press to get rid of drag on the drill press, I'll just take the belts off the top of the spindle completely, so it just turns completely free. And I'll use the same arrangement on the drill press to turn it. So I'm just going to use a wrench to turn the. First, we need to lock the spindle. Get ahead of myself there. This lathe does not have a spindle. Well, it has a spindle lock, but you have to hold it in. Well, unless you got somebody to stand there and help you, this is what you can use for a spindle lock. Is you can just stick the chuck key in here, raise the tool rest up a bit. And that'll act as a spindle lock for me. Okay, so I'm just going to turn the wrench and run the spindle in, or run the tailstock in at the same time. And once it gets in that far, I don't really need to hold it in here any longer. I can go ahead and take it out. Oh, hold on. Don't need to take it out of the chuck. What I do is I take it over to the workbench and hold that in a vise and continue. Well, here I can do it this way. Just run the tap all the way through. In there, so we get nice clean threads in there. And now what I would do is I go ahead and put super glue, again put thin CA in there and coat those threads and let it sit overnight, and then come back and re-tap it to clean those excess super glue out. And that'll give you good, firm, solid threads. So we'll go to the next block, and here's one that has had the super glue in it sitting for some time. I'll just take the tap and just run it through there to clean out. Again, if you get your workbench with a vise, you can put it in a vise. Actually, there wasn't much. Often you'll see the white particles of the CA where it's cleaning the threads out. So we get nice clean threads there now that have been strengthened with CA. And I forgot to counterbore that one on this one. I was doing this one. I didn't counterbore that one with the 1-inch hole. So we strip, and then once you get that, then you, there's the one that I just did. It's still got the wet glue on it. So this is going to be the face that's going to go against my spindle. So I've got another piece of wood. Then I'll just use yellow glue to glue those blocks together, and have something like this. So we can get the chuck off of there now. And this one is got, it's got the 1-inch counterbore to clear the threads down there. So I can do two operations here. I can go ahead and I can bore my hole for my waste block. This is the waste block piece. This is just a piece of 2x4 ripped into about 1.5-inch square, and I cut this down to 1 3/8. So we're going to bore a 1 3/8-inch hole in there. I'll put it back up on the faster speed range to see if the motor if it has enough torque for this smaller portion of it. Oh, need to plug it back in. It's hitting on the little spindle lock button. There's the shoulder bag. Let's go ahead and I'll take some of that off to get rid of that annoying noise there. Put this in. Guess I need my tail star, my spindle. Now that little rattle is just hitting against that, so it's nothing alarming. It's just making an annoying noise. Okay, I'm going to be using a bowl gouge. It's got a parabolic flute, and it's got a David Ellsworth style swept back wings on it with about a 60-degree nose angle. I'm going to hold the spindle gouge pretty much level with the flutes at about 45 degrees. So tool rest is just a bit high. You want to be cutting about right on the center. With the tool, yeah, right there, about there. Okay. And for this one, we'll go do this at about right around 1,000. Get rid of that. Okay, there we go. Actually, go a little bit faster than that. And what I like to do, I like to set the tool rest so that I look down at the bed, the lathe bed, and I line my tool rest up so it's parallel with that, and then I can use my finger against here as sort of a depth gauge. And I'm going to watch the profile up here on the top to that Baltic Birch plywood is pretty tough. I think it's got the, yeah, it's already taken the sharpness off my tool. We'll come back and use the other side. We've still got some flat spots over here, yeah. Let me go over and get a different gouge that was dull on that side. Yeah, that Baltic Birch plywood really took the edge off of the tool. Okay. Got rid of that annoying noise there now, so now we can go ahead and bore that out. Again, I'm going to, with a 1 3/8, I'm going to bore down about 3/4 of an inch. And we need to run the speed down to about 400, 300. Yeah, there's 300. Yeah, we need to go back to the lower speed range for the torque on the motor. Okay, there's about 350. Let's see how deep that is. Three-quarters. Okay, now with that, we're ready. We can go ahead and glue our, this is what's going to get chewed up. This, once I get this shape, that will remain pristine condition forever. And then when this gets worn down, I'll just face it off, bore it out, and put a fresh one in. So we've got one that's glued in, already done over here. Here's one that and this is, I've been only doing these about 3/4 of this, just the one that I made way too long. We'll go ahead and trim that off, but this is the block that's glued in. It will just provide some tailstock support while we're getting that round. And again, you always spin it to make sure that it's not going to hit the tool rest. And we can go back up to the higher speed range. And go up to about 1,000. Still got a little bit of flat there. Make up a little faster. Come back and just catch that back there, just take off a little bit, tore the fibers out on the back side there. It should be flat. Should be good. Okay, so we got a little bit of torn out grain. We'll go ahead and round this off a little bit just to give us a little bit more of a, so it isn't a big box, so taper that down a little bit. And it's in fairly good shape. Now we can get rid of some of that torn fiber. We can use the shear scraping. And what I'm going to do is I need a little bit of a burr inside the edge of the gouge there. So I'm going to hold the gouge pretty much with the flute completely closed. And I'm going to be holding it, pressing it down. I'm just going to bring it across there and give me a shear scrape down across that. Let me raise it up just a little bit here. Let's try to go the other direction. And that should give us a much nicer surface there. Okay, so let's just say, no, I'll just go ahead and cut this off a little bit. I don't really want it to be that long. And we can use a peeling cut with the skew, or we could use that the bowl gouge. But we'll just use it with the skew. And this skew is sort of like Richard Raffin and Alan Lacer, where it's got the curvature on it. But this edge up here, I can use that to do a peel cut and rapidly take that down. Okay, it's about 3/4 inch. Okay, so now to give me a good flat surface on there for my mounting my block, I could come in with the skew like this. I come into the skew like this. Like that, or I can go back to my Forstner bit. And that'll give you a good surface, but you know, you often have to fiddle with it to get it so it's nice and flat. Just a quick touch with the Forstner bit is going to give you a nice flat surface. If we get enough torque to spin it. And I see I got it coming out on both sides, all the way across that cutting edge, so now I know I've got a good flat surface there. Actually, looks like I needed to use 1.5 inches to I should have used 1.5 inch bit instead of a 1 3/8 inch bit. But that's a quick way to get a nice flat surface on there to make a mating surface for my, to glue my material onto. For the pieces, these pieces here, I just mount the material. Again, it's 2x4 material cut in half to give me about 1.5 inch material. So I'm just going to mark the center. And if the material is perfectly square, you only have to go around twice, but sometimes the stuff is not really, well, it's not completely square. Oh, and I didn't bring my awl with me. We'll just mark that, like that. going to put the regular, in the one-way life center, we'll put the regular point back in there now. Use the steel. And we'll just need to bring that down to round. And we can run that up to about 1800. So we need to, come back about an inch. We need about 1.5 inches, so we'll just still got a little bit of flat there. Okay, so I got it nice and round, back plenty of room. So we'll mark. We want to make our 1 3/8 inch tenon on there now to fit into our the hole in our block. So we're just going to mark 3/4 of an inch here. And set our calipers to nice thing from Rockler. It's got, you can just quickly set your calipers to whatever dimension you want, for providing it's even eighth of an inches. And we're going to just use a Bedan. A Bedan is a trapezoidal tool. It's like a parting tool or scraper, but it's cut about 45-degree angles, and the profile is trapezoidal, so the bottom is narrower than the cutting edge. And we're again just going to make a peeling cut. Just put a little bit of taper on the end there to help get it in the hole. I'll come back here and mark it where we want to part it off. So we'll make an overall length at 1.5 inches long. We'll come with a parting tool and go down to about 1/2 inch shy of all the way through. So I got about 1/2 inch or 3/8 inch of material left in there. And then we just cut it up. Use the saw to cut it the rest of the way through. Now, you could saw it like this, but when it finally goes through, there's a good chance the blade's going to go down, hit the bed of the lathe, put a nick in there, and bend a tooth on your saw. So use the tool wrist as a tool rest. And when it goes through, it doesn't fall all the way down. So there's our block of wood that we use, that we can put in our, and then again, the waste block, that's what I was trying to think earlier. That's my waste block. So this is what gets chewed up. When that gets chewed up, I just face it off, drill it out, put a new one in. This block here never gets touched once you get it shaped. And I think that's just about it for these these jigs that I make, you know, there's all sorts of ideas that you can use these for. And anytime you see somebody making a jam chuck in a block of wood in a chuck, if you're planning on making more than one, it might be beneficial to make a jam chuck or make a jig like this that threads onto your spindle. It's always going to run true every time you put it back on, and you'll have it to use over and over again. Thank you for watching.